What is going on, guys? I am Bruce Lee and welcome to a brand new MFL video. We are at the mid-season point, barring the final cup games, the final group stage cup games. We are at the mid-season point, couple of days break, no games to be played. And instead of doing my usual of going through my teams and how we've done, I decided to do something a little bit different and talk about tactics in this one. Talk about the process I go through, what I do, what I look for, and how I come up with a tactic that does well. Now, before I do that, as usual, if you are looking to get involved in MFL, then be sure to use this referral code. The link will also be in the description when you sign up. And if you spend $25 in the store, you will get a free common player. The Redemption Cup has just closed registrations, but obviously if there's a lot more people signing up, they will usually open up another one. So yeah, there's still a chance to get involved in the Redemption Cup before Season 7 begins. So a couple of disclaimers before we get into all the information. I have managed in Spark and Ice, so I'm at the lower levels of the game. If you are in Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, you guys know what you're doing. You don't need this video. You already know your tactics. You know what you're doing. So this is more for the newer players, the people who haven't quite found a tactic yet and don't know what to do, how to, decide what works for their team. This is mainly for those players. I do also want to point out that if you are looking for a tactic that's going to win every game for you, it doesn't exist. This isn't like Football Manager where you can download a tactic and win all your games. It's not like that at all. For a start, you have a human element. All the opponents are human. They all have their own tactics. They will change them up. They'll set their own individual instructions, which will affect your tactic. Also, if you take the same tactic that I'm using, then you apply it to your team, it might not work the same because you've got a different set of players with a different set of attributes. So that, it's very, very, very nuanced, and it's got to be unique to you. And like I said, this is just the process I go through. And if you follow this process, I am sure you will also be able to come up with a tactic that does well. So just to prove to you that I am not talking absolute waffle, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination. No expert. I've only been here for 2 seasons. But as you can see here, if you've been following my videos, we were predicted to finish 8th. We've got the 8th strongest team in this division. And here we are at the halfway point, and we are currently sitting in 2nd. Big wins against Stellenbosch, Maestro, Aurum, 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, scraping victories out there, and that is a lot to do with the tactics I have been using, getting results against teams that are stronger than you. Last season as well, in my first season, I was predicted to finish 4th. I actually came 3rd. I got into the playoffs, and again, I didn't have a super strong team. I had a fairly, I wouldn't say weak team at all. We're about averaging of about 58 rated. This season we're actually rated less. We're at 56 average for my team, and we're still doing very, very well. And like I said, it's down to the tactics and the process I go through. Just as well as that, as we go to the Ice League, this is a crazy division. I was predicted to finish 3rd. I've got the 3rd strongest team. I am 4th at the minute, and this is a lot to do with the fact that I'm not happy with the tactic I've got. What I did with this team is, instead of focusing on one tactic, which is what I did with Clairvaux Castle, instead of focusing on just one, I sort of stretched it out. I stretched my testing out between like 3 or 4 different tactics, and I'll show you the tactics I did here. As you can see, not there. Let's go to load. I've got 4 different tactics here that I was working on. Instead of just working on one and perfecting that, I sort of spread myself a little bit thin. So the first thing I will say is, if you're at these lower leagues in Spark and Ice, don't worry about multiple tactics. One tactic perfected will get you so much further than having 3 or 4 tactics that are slightly less optimized. It's like Bruce Lee said, don't fear the man that knows 1,000 kicks. You fear the man that has practiced one kick 1,000 times. And it is exactly the same here. Perfect one formation. That's my advice to you. Some of you want to change up and stuff, depending on rotation patterns and stuff. Maybe you want to change through, but for me, I would definitely suggest focusing on one. And like I said, you can see the difference in results. I've got 4 different tactics on this team, and we're sitting in 4th. On my other team, which is a significantly weaker team in my division, I've focused on 1 tactic and I'm sat on 2nd. So proof's in the pudding right there. So let's get into it. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the obvious, is the formation. Now, the formation has to fit your players. If and when I say that, you've got to also take into consideration rotation, because you can't just get 11 players, play them every game of the season. You have to rotate as well. So you have to take that into consideration. If you've got, 3 central midfielders total, then playing formation with 3 central midfielders isn't going to do well for you, because at some point those midfielders are going to get tired. Those midfielders are not going to be able to perform as well, and you're ultimately just going to get absolutely battered, if not forfeit games because of that. So always make sure your formation fits the players you have. Now, for me, I started from scratch. I decided my formation, bought players in to fit that formation. If you've come in the mid-season, you've taken over a team that's already got players loaned in, then maybe you don't have that luxury and you need to work out a formation that fits your players, bearing in mind rotation and stuff like that, the backups you have. So as you can see here for Black Mamba, oh, by the way, my kids got me a cool little Father's Day gift with my Black Mamba logo on there, which I thought was really, really cool. So just wanted to show that. But yeah, anyway, we're here in Black Mamba. And my primary tactic was 4-1-2-1-2, but I can be quite versatile with this. There's quite a few. So let's clear this. And for the purpose of this video, let's say we can do a 4-4-2. Now, I could comfortably run a 4-4-2 without any issues. It's actually my favorite formation. I like the 3-5-2 as well. The problem is the 3-5-2, you need certain players, and it's weak against a lot of formations. There's some formations it's very strong against, but it's also very weak against a lot of others. And like I said, you need certain stuff. Like if you run in the 3-back, your centre backs all have to be fast. You have to have your wide players, your left and right mid. They have to have decent defensive stats. Otherwise, it's just not going to work, and you're going to get absolutely savaged. So for me, the 4-4-2 is simple formation. It's very good. A lot of the best players use this formation. When looking through games in the Diamond League, it seems to be a popular formation. So I'm just gonna quickly populate this with my players, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are, 4-4-2, all my players in. It's giving me a total overall rating of 753. Also, don't forget to select your captain. You can do it this way. You can click on him and click on the little C. If you're on phone, it's a little bit different, but yeah, you just click on the seat. For the purposes of this, I'm going to select my goalkeeper. It will give him a +2 overall, and it will also give +2 to the defensive stat for everyone else. Now, for 4-4-2, I find its defense comes first. So in this formation, I like to make sure my goalkeeper has the captain's armband. Somebody might say, why don't you put it on a defender? And you'll get an extra physical point around everyone, but then the keeper gets nothing. So I put it on the goalkeeper, and yes, I'll lose 1 point in physical bonus, but my keeper will get a +2 overall. And having a high-rated keeper makes a big difference. I have found. So that's why I would go for a goalkeeper captain in this formation. Of course, you can select anyone you want. It's up to you. It's just my preference. And what I like to do in my 4-1-2-1-2, I have Turkaloo, my striker. He's my captain to give that extra shooting boost. And I'm finding this season that my defense is a little weaker than I would like. So if I decide to switch to a 4-4-2, my goalkeeper will be the captain. It's just I've kept it on Turkaloo because I'm currently going for the Golden Boot with him in this division. So that's why I've kept it. And next season, when I probably revamp this team and change the formation to be a lot more defensively solid, but I'll probably use a 4-4-2 to be honest, my goalkeeper will be the captain again. So the next thing I will do is go over the team instructions, and I'll do this before the individual instructions because the team instructions is kind of the base, whereas the individual instructions is more like the little tweaks for the each player. So when we first click on it, this will be the screen we are greeted with. We can get in possession and out of possession. So we'll go through each one by one. Now in the 4-4-2, I will usually leave it right in the middle. Now if you've got slower players, I would probably suggest coming in a little bit, and if you've got very fast players, I would suggest going out here. If you're kind of in the middle, then again, yeah, I go around in the middle. In the 4-4-2, it seems to work. If I was trying to get a little bit more defensively solid, I'd probably go around there. But for the purposes of this video right here, we're just going to go here. Next one, we're going to go with directness. 3 options: controlled, balanced, direct. Controlled is your passing, lots and lots of passing. Balanced, direct obviously is long balls over the top, and balanced is a mixture of the two. Now, for me, in these lower leagues, I would suggest either being on balanced or direct. I have tried to do controlled in my testing. I had some success with it on the engine last season, but for some reason on this engine, I couldn't get it to work. The problems I found with controlled were I would not create very many chances. They were more interested in passing it around the back or passing it around themselves rather than getting scoring opportunities. And then I would end up losing the game like 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, really close games. Like on paper, I was dominating, and I was doing it because in the highlights, I'd see one of my midfielders would get the ball, he'd pass it backwards to a defender that had moved out of position. Opponent's player runs right through, clean on goal, scores. And that's like their only attempt of the game. And I was finding that was happening quite a lot. Now, obviously, if you're in the upper levels with much higher quality players, that might not happen as much. But obviously, I can't test that. I don't know. So at this lower level, I would certainly suggest either doing balanced or direct. I'm going to stay on balanced for this one. On your flank preference, obviously, quite self-explanatory here. I would use this if you've got... let's say your left midfielder is really, really good and your right midfielder is crap. Put it on prioritize left flank. If your opponent, if you want to go pair opponent, let's say your opponent's got a really weak right back, then again, prioritize left flank. Other than that, I would just leave it unbalanced. Long shots, again, self-explanatory, take less, balanced, take more. Now, there's some formations, I believe, where take more long shots works pretty well. I think it's a 4-3-3. That works pretty well. Take less long shots. Again, I have not really tested it. I usually keep this unbalanced. I don't really need it that much. If your XG is really low, and again, I'm going to talk about this later, your XG isn't the be-all and end-all. But if you're getting a really low XG, then maybe just put more long shots on. But just bear in mind that higher XG does not result in more goals. If you're taking 40-yard shots every game, you know, your XG is going to be poor anyway. You might have 30 shots a game, but none of them are high quality shots. So I usually leave it on balanced. Next one is crossing. Again, cross less often, cross more often, and balanced. Now, usually I'll do this. And for this video, I'm going to put it on here just to show you why. The cross percentage, success percentage is very, very low. I think it's between like 15 and 20% or something like that. I have seen the proper numbers somewhere. But yeah, it's like between 15 and 20%. It's really low. And when you come and look in the match reports, you know, you'll get 1 of 8 crosses successful. Like, to me, those odds aren't great. You might get 1 where it works and you score from it, cool. But if you're whipping in 8 crosses and only 1 of them is meeting the target, you know, to me, that just doesn't seem like a great return. So I usually do this. The balance will probably work. But like I said, for this, we're going to put it on cross more often just to show you. Here is dribbling, dribble less often, balanced, dribble more often. Again, leave it on balanced. We'll work on this with individual instructions. If you've got 11 players who, well, 10, sorry. If you've got 10 players who are all amazing at dribbling, then maybe put it on dribble more often. But most people don't. So I would stick it on either dribble less often or balanced. In fact, yeah, we'll put it on dribble less often for now, and then we'll work that out later on, because this will be decided a lot more in individual instructions based on the attributes of the set each player. Okay, so next let's move to out of possession and let's move to team death. First thing I'm going to tell every one of you to do this. Do this. You can put it all the way here. You can put it around here. For this video, I'm going to do it there. I'm going to do it all the way there. You're not going to have fast centre backs. You might have decent rated centre backs, but a lot of people will hoof it over the top that I found in my testing, and you'll get caught out. One-on-ones with the keeper results in goals. I would put this down low. If you've got super fast centre backs, you can maybe consider bringing this up here. I did test it a little bit because my centre backs are okay speed. They're not great speed, and I was getting long balled a lot. So just bring it down here. Somewhere, for this one, I'm going to put it right to the extreme. I'm going to put it there. For the compactness, this is where how tight your players are together. Again, I'd put it down here. But, you know, if you want to spread them out, then cool. But, you know, if you're playing someone who's, you know, is playing wide, then maybe do that. But usually, again, I will come this way. I will come more to the left and make them more compact, so the middle of the pitch is a lot more difficult for them to get in. Here again is trigger press. I would put it on here. For all of you, I would suggest doing that. And the reason is I've tested that, and I've tested this. And this one works the best. It just seems to get better results, and no matter what. So, I mean, you might have a different experience of this, but for me, I would just put it on more often every single time. Aggressiveness, I would never put it on here, ever. I already have it on balanced, and I get so many cards as it is. Not red cards, thankfully. I dread to think of what it would look like if I put it on more aggressive. You can do here or here. I'd leave it on here. And then clearances. Again, this goes back to the controlled. I used to, like I said, when I did the testing at the start of the season, I had play out of defense and controlled. And every single game, we had 60% plus possession. Every game, bar none. Every single game was above 60% possession. But as I said, didn't create many chances. Kept conceding really silly goals where a midfielder would pass it back to a defender. The defender would miss it and the striker runs through. So, I mean, it's up to you. I just stick it on balanced. Again, up to you. But for this video, we'll put it on balanced and look at it that way. Okay, so now let's come to the individual instructions. And before I do anything, I'm going to do this. And go down here to your goalkeeper, put it on controlled, put it on play out of defense. And the big reason I have done that is on this engine. If you don't, I think I had it on balance for both for quite a lot of testing, and he would kick it long, it'd get intercepted in the middle of the pitch, again, played through, striker scores, easy goal. And annoyingly, frustratingly, this still happens even with these settings on, but I found when I put both of these settings on, it happens less. So first thing I would do is do that. Next thing I would do is I would go along my entire back line, and obviously with trigger press, if you put it on more often like I have, for your entire back line, do that. Put it all on balanced, because if these guys are doing the trigger press more often, they will run out into the midfield, leaving a big wide open space. And that's not good, because that's obviously going to result in a goal. So I would put all of these on balanced, and that's just to start with. I would do that no matter what. Now, there are people who ask if, I've seen it in the Discord, asking if, you know, you should have lots of instructions or you should have barely any. I would say it depends on the player, but if you fill this out and micromanage every single player into the ground, it's not going to work out for you. It confuses the engine, so I would just use it where it's needed. And like I said, with the trigger press, put that on, that's all fine. With the kicking for the goalkeeper, that's all fine. You know, there's no issues with that. But don't overload in and go in here and you're centre back and say, oh, I want him to play controlled, I want him to take more long shots, I want him to do less crossing, I want him to dribble left off. You know, it's just don't do that. Just do the ones that you need. remember your team instructions and what they say. If you come in here to your right midfielder and you've got cross less often as a team instruction, you then don't need to come in here and tell him to cross less often. You'd only come in here if you want him to cross more. So obviously here with crossing, again, I've set this to cross more often. I don't need to tell him to cross more often. He's got his team instructions already, so just use team instructions. So we'll go through each player here. Now, my right back, what I'll usually do is I'll click on the individual instructions. I will look at their actual attributes here. Now, what we can see, he's got good defense. He can dribble okay. He's got decent passing, pace, fairly slow for an uncommon player. He's 70 rated with only 62 pace, so I'd say he's not very fast. So what can we do here with him? We're already playing on balanced, I think, so we'll do that. We don't need to do this. Crossing, we don't need to worry about. He's got okay passing, but like I said about the crossing, it's not great. So, it just doesn't seem to matter whether you've got high crossing or low crossing. The success rate is still the same. Passing risk, you might want to tell him to be conservative, but 66 passing isn't too bad, so I don't need to worry about him passing conservatively. I would leave him on medium positional freedom unless you really want it. Like, let's say he's got like 40 pace. I don't think I've got a player here with like that thing, so I'd stick him on low position and freedom so he doesn't bomb forward. But for this, he's okay. 62 will do, so I'll leave him on medium. And then we'll look at this. We don't really need to worry about anything else. Devlin, again, good defense. He's okay. He's about the same. He's not too terrible. You might want to put him on conservative, just because you don't want your centre backs like doing anything silly. But for now, because he's got okay passing, I'll leave him on balanced. This is the one where it's going to matter, and you're going to see why. If you look at his passing, it's 34, which is absolutely god awful. So what I will do with this guy is I'll tell him passing risk, conservative, and then out here with clearances, tell him to clear the ball more often because he's got a low passing, sorry. So you don't want him taking too many risks. You don't want him holding onto the ball, trying to make a pass to his left back or whatever and giving it away. Just clear the ball, keep it conservative. There we go. We'll look at Berisha again. He's, pretty similar, 65, okay passing, dribbling, defense. Again, I'll just leave him there. Just make sure this trigger press is on balanced and you should be good. Now, this is where it gets a lot more individual, I would say. Here we go with the right mid, and he's got great passing. He's got okay dribbling. Terrible defense. He's not terrible pace, but it's not great. Now, the thing I can do for him, because I told him to dribble less often, but he's got 69 dribbling. So he's not too bad. It's not elite dribbling, but I'd stick him there on balanced. And so he'll dribble a little bit more often and utilize this 69 dribbling. Other than that, you could put him on risky passing. Let's try it. Yeah, let's put him on risky passing and see what that does. I would leave all this to medium. You don't want much of. I mean, you can change the positional freedom on wingers if you want, but I also want these guys to come back and help with the defense. So I'm not going to change any of that. Same again with the left midfield. This time he does have pretty elite dribbling. It's nearly 80. So I'm going to tell him to dribble more often. He's got good passing, so he'll cross more often. He's got 62 shooting, so I wouldn't tell him to take more long shots. However, if this was in like the 76 plus range, I might tell him to take more shots. However, he doesn't, 62, so I'm going to do that. And just like Grand on the right mid, I'm going to tell him to do risky passing. Other than that, again, keep it the same. For my central midfielders here, we'll start with Boomstra. So 69 passing, 72 dribbling. Again, 72 dribbling is okay, so I might tell him balanced. I'm not going to tell him to take risky passing because he's only got 69 passing. And other than that, again, I'll leave it. If this was a DM, you might want to put him on low positional freedom so he'll stay there. But I find if I don't in a 4-4-2, if I just leave it on medium, then they'll both seem to cover for each other. I don't need to worry about, one person staying back so one can go forward. They seem to cover for each other. So I would leave the position freedom on medium. Then we'll go here to my other right midfielder. His dribbling isn't amazing, 65. He's more of a passing player. He's got decent pace as well, but he's more of a passing player. Would I put him on risky? No, he's only 71. Well, I say only 71. That should be a good stat for ice. However, he's not in the 75 plus range, so I'm going to leave him on balanced. Other than that, not going to change a thing. Now let's come to Terkalu. Great shooting, not great dribbling, not great passing. Yeah, 74 pace isn't bad. Now think about this. Would I change anything? He's got 76 shooting. Maybe take more long shots. Let's see that. Let's see how that works. Yeah, take more long shots. Everything else, I would leave the same in this case. You might want to change the positional freedom here, but I'll do this on Safransky because he's slightly faster. So he's slightly faster. So I'm going to put him on high positional freedom and see how that works. I've tried this before on slower players and it was god awful. But from what I understand, if you put a fast player on a fast striker, sorry, on high positional freedom, he will try to get behind a lot more often, behind the defence, for those long balls coming over the top. If we're playing direct, then this should work pretty well. His dribbling, 69. So let's go on balanced. He's only 66 shooting, so we're not going to take more long shots. And we'll go with that. So I'm not saying, hey, this is a winning tactic. This is just stage one. We're going to save that there. And now we're going to move on to stage two, which is testing. So as you can see up here in this right hand corner, it says find a match. I believe you can also get it here, find a match. I usually do it from here because I'm usually coming in tweaking tactics and then I go straight back to find a match. So when you click on find a match here, you have the option to type in a team name or you can just go random. Now, random, if you just want to be quick, is pretty good because it used to be last season where you could click random and, I was a Spark team with a 58 overall average. I'd click random and I'd end up against an Iron team with an 80 overall average, which wasn't very good. It didn't teach you anything. But now this season, they have made it a lot closer. So if I click random, I will find a team around the same area as me. And so you can get very quick matches, find very quick matches against other players. What you can also do is come over here to mfl-coach.com, which is a fantastic site. By the way, this formation meta here, if you look at this might help you decide which formation you want to run. As you can see, this will tell you which formations are stronger against the other formations. There's not a lot of, there's not enough, there is a lot of data. There's not enough data to give you 100%. But if you see here, 4-3-2-1 does very well against a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. Problem is there's only been 66 games played, though it does seem to come out on top more often than not. So if you're looking for a formation, that might actually be a big help to you. But what we're going to come here for is this. It's the opponent finder. So let's look again and see. So my overall is 753. So let's say we'll say minimum overall 750 and maximum overall 755. You can also choose the formation if you want to select a specific formation. Let's say you've got an opponent coming up who plays a 4-3-3 attack. You can put it in there, look for a player, an opponent who has a similar rating to him and run it that way. As you can see, drop down there and you can choose. And then when you run that, it'll just give you, based on the information it's got, it'll give you all the friendly matches that I've run recently. And as you can see, let's look here. 750 Canberra, 750 played a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, or Soho Scene, 755 overall, 4-1-2-1-2. You can select any of these, put them into the where's it gone? Sorry, I didn't scroll up. Put them into their find match here, and it will bring them up. Like I said, MFL-coach and assistant, great third-party tools for MFL that you should be using. For this video, though, I'm just going to click random, and let's just see. Let's just click it. And we'll be assigned an opponent and we'll have a match here. So as you can see, Sagrada, MFC, he's playing a 4-4-2-B and it's fairly close apart from his attack, where 69, 69, 68, he's 71, 69, 59. So he's got strong defense, but very, very weak attack. Now, I'm not going to sit here and watch the game with you. However, once the game's done, oh no, actually, when the game starts, this is something I would suggest you do. If you want the most, it depends on the time you've got. If you have a lot of time, I would suggest watching it on 2D. And 2D is basically the full match. You can speed it up, so it's not like super slow. It'll speed it up for you. I think that's probably too fast. Maybe if we do it about there. And you'll watch the entire match, which will give you a lot more data because you will see everything. If you haven't got that time, because it obviously will take a long time, then you can go to extended highlights or highlights. It's up to you. For the purposes of this, we're just going to go with highlights. You can still get a decent amount of information just watching the highlights, but if you really want to get in depth, watch the game on 2D, watch the entire thing, because then you will see every little thing that goes wrong. But for this, we're just going to go on highlights. Now, I'm not going to watch the entire thing. We'll come back afterwards and I'll talk about the process I do after the game's finished. Okay, so the game is done, and as you can see, we won 3-0. So there we go. Tactics amazing, right? We've smashed it. Great tactic. Wrong. Absolutely not, because this is just one game against one opponent with a set of tactics, a set of individual instructions on his players. I could click rematch on this game and we could come up with a completely different result. So don't just take this result and think that's it, I've done it. You've got to play this tactic multiple times. I would suggest around 10 to 15. The good thing is, if you don't have all the time, the good thing is you can play on your phone. So I sometimes, instead of doom scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, I'll just put on MFL, I'll set up a friendly game, tweak my tactics a little bit. But obviously people have more time than others. It's up to you. You just do what you can to do it, but don't just take one match and think that's it, I've smashed it, we won 3-0, I've smashed it. There's a lot of things you've got to look into here. So first off, on this screen, I will look at a couple of things. I will look at the player ratings. As you can see here, everyone had an okay game. Grande had okay, but he's the only one that didn't get above a 7, so I'll be looking into that. I was watching the game as it was going on, and until he scored, Safransky was actually on a 5.7. So there was, obviously a reason for that. So I'll have to look into that a little bit. But when he scored, it bumped up his stats. Boomstra was also pretty low. And this all just seemed to get elevated because we won 3-0. But there's obviously issues there because I was watching the ratings throughout the match and seeing where everyone else. So I would pay attention to that. Down here on the stats, I would ignore this. Just ignore it. Like I said, when I was testing before, I had games 60+% possession and I'd still lose 1-0. So I just wouldn't pay attention. The things you really want to pay attention to are, again, not the be all and end all, but expected goals, your shots on target. You might want to put this into a spreadsheet if you're doing a lot of games all at once. You might want to put it into a spreadsheet, or you could just look at it and just be like, okay, this is what we need to work on. As you can see here, we've got 1.22, he got 1.19, because this is what I look at. Are we generating a lot of quality chances? Are we giving up a lot of quality chances? You can see here he took 15 shots and got a 1.19, so he was taking a lot of shots and not high quality, whereas we took 7 shots and got a higher XG. So the chances we were creating were a lot higher quality. Were we creating a lot? Not a whole lot, but enough. But it's something that can definitely be worked on. We were accurate, great shots on target ratio there, I would say. But this needs to be worked on, I think. And this could get better. I think if we could generate more total shots, more total quality shots, fantastic. The next thing I will do again from here is I will go over here and I'll look at the match report. Now I'm not going to look at theirs, I'm just going to look at my own. You can see everything you were doing here. We were playing unbalanced. So in the summary here, I will go more specific. As I was saying, for Safransky, he just didn't get involved in the game a lot by the looks of it, because I've got him on balanced dribble. He only dribbled once. 2 shots total, and that was the goal at the end, only a 0.36 XG, which isn't bad. But yeah, why was his rating low then? Grande didn't do anything. Terkalu, great return, 2 shots, 2 goals. Mayer had 1 shot, wasn't obviously a long shot, so it wasn't very good. 5 dribbles for him. I'll look at stuff like this. Fouls suffered, shots blocked. Okay, we'll look at the defence. Clearances. Will Barrett. Weirdly, I didn't have him on lots of clearances, but he's got more clearances than Barrett does. That's pretty funny. This is an important one. Dribbled past. So as you can see here, this might have contributed to his low rated. He was dribbled past 7 times. But yeah, okay, let's look at the passing now. And here we can see. Okay, now Santos had an absolute freak of a game. 4 crosses. Okay, so 4 crosses, 100% cross rate. Okay, so that tells me something. That's okay. He can cross more. Lamb had 4, none. He had 3 crosses, non-successful. Everybody, even Grand, and I had him on, cross more because he's got good passing. He had none. He also had 67. We've got some low percentage from the strikers. I wouldn't be too worried about. My midfielders, my defenders had decent passing. Santos had 50%, but obviously he's trying a lot more risky passes. As you can see, he created 4 chances there. Got 2 assists. So I'm not too mad at that at all because his risky passes are coming off and resulting in goals. But this could be an error, an issue in future games. It's something we'll keep an eye on. Grande, again, he 67%. Okay. So based on that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into tactics. We're going to look at team instructions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cross less often. Just for this game, I'm going to say cross less often and see what that does. Am I going to change anything else? No, I'll keep it the way it is. And what I'm going to do here with Grande, let's look in here. Let's put him on balanced. We'll not do the risky passes with Grande and see how that works. Santos, he had a great crossing game, so let's put him on cross more often. Let's keep him on cross more often and see how this works in this game and see what's going on. Do I need to change anything else? Maybe having him on high positional freedom was a problem. I'm going to take it off for this game and do that. And yeah. So when you come back in here, don't overhaul it. Don't go mad and change everything. Change a couple of little things and then save and then go to find a match. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to find a match. I'll be right back once the match has ended and we'll see what difference the changes I made had. Okay, so the second match has happened and this is actually perfect. I lose 2-1. We were playing the Boston Minutemen and they were playing a 5-2-3. And the first things I noticed is my 2 strikers had absolute howlers. And this could be because they were playing against a 5 in the back. I'm not sure. But this is why we test multiple times. As we can see here, straight away, Grande seemed to have a slightly better game. He scored a goal. Berisha had a bad game because he scored an own goal right at the end. But that's not massively important right now. That's not something we're going to be worried about. What we are worried about is we didn't create very many chances this time. They're still getting too many chances for my liking. I would rather this be the other way around. But obviously it's not, so we've got to work out how to get this down and how to get this up. Again, we're going to look in the match report up here. This will be the next thing I do. We'll go to Black Mamba and let's take a look here at the attack. We can see here, yeah, we just didn't get chances. We just could not create enough chances. So maybe taking the risky passing off was a bad thing, and maybe the crosses were helping. So that's one thing I immediately take from that. Defense, again, let's look at the passing. Let's see the crosses. So they'll still put crosses in, but a lot rarer, and he had a 50%. So I'm going to keep him there on that. 61% possession. There we can see 83% passing. It is already a massive improvement there. Interesting. Because if I put the crosses back up, will that go down and will he have a worse game? That's interesting. But these are the thoughts that would go through my head. And then again, I will go back to the tactics and I'll tweak certain things. I think not massive changes, but again, maybe if we put him back on risky, maybe keep the crosses down, but put him back on risky. Let's see how that did. Strikers again, that could have been due to the 5-back. Got to think about how to reduce the chances created, and I'm wondering about how to do that. Maybe if I did set like Max Miller-Meyer, he's got the better defending stat than Boonstra. So let me just double check that. Yeah, he's got the better defending stat. Maybe if I just lower position freedom on him. Like I say, I don't really like that, but maybe that's what I'd do. I'd test that for a game. So that's basically the process I go through when creating a tactic. I will keep playing matches. Obviously, you know, you do the time you've got. You might not have a lot of time to do it, but do as much as you can, because the more matches you play, the more testing you do, the better it will be, because you'll be able to see exactly what you can tweak to make things work and do better. You'll get a lot more, much bigger data set to be able to find out what is working for your team, your specific team, and what isn't. Obviously, the closer you get to finding your perfect tactic, the less matches you're going to have to play. Like I don't play as many test matches while the season is going. I still do play some, but I don't play as many as I do in the pre-season, because I've usually got a tactic that I like and I'm like, okay, I don't really need to tweak this a whole lot. I'll leave it. I'll maybe do 1 or 2 test matches during the season, but the more you put in, the more you will get out. The testing is the single most important thing, I think, out of all of it. I mean, it's all important, but I would say the testing against opponents is the most important thing, because you'll be able to see the results and what your tweaks do. And like I said, don't go overboard and don't lose a game 5-0 and think, right, I've got to scrap it all. Just tweak it a little bit. Find out, look at the stats. Look at what was working. Look at what wasn't working. If your guy, like I said with Santos had 100% cross record on 4 crosses, why would I tell him to cross less often? I'm going to tell him to cross, as exactly as he was doing, because he was doing a good job. Whereas, the opposing happens if they're not doing very well with the crosses, get it off. So yeah, hopefully that has helped some of you. Obviously, if you are a more experienced player in anything I've said, you know more, please in the comments let me know, because I'm still learning too. This is just what I do to create a tactic, and I'm just hoping it can help some other people who were in the same position I was. This is obviously one of my favourite parts of the game. It's something I loved about Football Manager, was creating tactics that worked, and it's kind of translated over here. I'm forever like tinkering or thinking what I can do better. So I'm still learning. This is only at the lower levels. People at the higher levels will know way more than I do. So if you've made it this far and you know that, then thank you very much. Like I said, if it's helped you at all, then please drop a like on the video. Let me know in the comments if this has helped you at all. Obviously, even the bad stuff. If you've applied all these and then get smashed 5-0 every game, then let me know as well, because there's obviously things that need tweaking for myself, but this is just what I do. And yeah, I just hope to give back to the community, and because I'm having such a good time. I love this community. I love MFL. It is so cool. And yeah, I just want to help other people who maybe were struggling with this. I see lots of people asking about tactics in the Discord. Like I said, if you enjoyed it, then please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I've been Bruce Lee. Thank you very, very much for watching. Peace.